Local. Okay, awesome. All right, so thanks, Wayne. I'm just gonna let you. So hi guys, it's Tom here from Camera Martial Arts. I've got Wayne Goldsmith here. A bit of background: Wayne and I used to train Hapkido on the Gold Coast. He's going to boast about his prowess and teaching me and stuff. And but I've got him today because I really wanted to have a chat with you guys about what's happening in everybody's lives in terms of the kids and and a little bit of the psychology because and I'll get Wayne to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his background. So g'day Wayne, so tell us a little bit about you mate and what you do.
Hi, g'day Tom. Well, most of the time I try to come up with jokes to keep my kids entertained during these interesting times. I said to the kids yesterday, I said, I've got a problem, the Holden Cruise won't start. I think it's got coronavirus.
Oh.
And as you'd expect, in the current circumstance and the kids knowing my dad jokes, nobody thought it was very funny. But I've been involved in sport since the late 80s. I started out as the head of sports science, sports medicine for Swimming Australia. I then went to England and spent a year helping them set up their high performance swimming program. I came back and worked with the Australian government talking about what we call the post-host phenomenon, which is what we're doing leading into the Sydney Olympics and what we were failing to do after Sydney, because what's typically happened around the world is after a home Olympics, sport in that country, high performance sport experiences a dive. Then got drafted into the Australian triathlon program and was lucky enough to go to 3 world championships with them and walk with the Australian team in the opening ceremony at the Athens Olympics, which is something I'll never forget. Following that, I'd built some relationships with people like Eddie Jones in rugby and with the Australian cricket team and with some AFL teams. And I went into consulting and spent pretty much then the last 15 years working with AFL teams, NRL teams, Super Rugby teams, the All Blacks, USA Swimming and sporting organisations around the world. And my focus areas are really 3. 1 is on coaching coaches, so helping coaches get better at what they do. 2 is working with parents. So I talk a lot to parents about their roles and how they can be outstanding sporting parents, so how they can be great at helping their kids to realise their potential. And thirdly, in coaching itself, in working directly with people and helping them to realise their dreams and achieve everything that they could want to dream. So that's what I do when I'm not doing stand-up comedy.
Or being your dad jokes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, bad cow puns. Okay, awesome. So look, obviously, it's an amazing pedigree, and yeah. So Wayne and I actually trained Hapkido together back in, mate, wasn't it 2005, 6, something like that? It seems like a long time ago. So look, particularly, so I reached out to the people watching this video. I reached out to Wayne because I obviously know him and I know what he does and the kind of material he's covering. And so what I'm going to get from Wayne today is basically a little bit of it. I don't know whether some tips or something to look out for, because essentially what we're doing is we're taking the kids out of their routine. We're plucking them out of school. We're plucking them out of all of the stuff that they're used to. Their lives are very, very regimented. Right up until Monday, and then poof, for most of them, that's gone. And so I suppose the question, Wayne, is really, as you've dealt with, I know elite athletes are different, but I mean, in terms of, I know that you've worked a lot with kids, kid athletes and such, and I've read articles that you've written about burnout and stuff like that. But on the flip side, what do you think what would be useful for the parents to sort of observe or keep an eye out, or something to think about in terms of now that their routines are completely shot?
Well, you've really hit it there, Tom, is the word routine is critically important. And we know that when kids are going to school, they do have that out of bed at 6:30 in the morning and breakfast. And as crazy as that period of time is for parents, where we're racing around getting them organised and making sure they've got their schoolwork and their uniforms and their breakfast and their lunch and all those things that we do, it is actually a routine, and they do the same things every day. Then they go to school the same way, usually bus or train or walk, or they're being dropped off. Then they've got their school schedule, then they've got lunch, and their day is very much around routine. And then we get the holiday time. And if you think back to the last holiday, by the end of the holiday time, as much as you love your kids, you couldn't wait to get rid of them and get them to go back to school because they were lacking that routine and that structure. So think for a moment as a parent or a carer, how many times did you say, get your nose out of the fridge, turn off that TV, stop playing Xbox, get off your device? Because they're scrounging to fill their time with things that are going to engage and capture their imagination. And that's a real holiday problem. Now we're looking at not just the school holidays, we're now looking at an extended period of time without that structure, without that routine. And kids will only thrive and flourish where you've got some sort of balance now between what they need to do, what they have to do, and what they're going to enjoy doing. What I'm seeing, unfortunately, a lot of parents, because we're all stressed, we're all worried about our jobs and our finance and health and our children and so many other areas of life, is that I think it's going to be very tempting for parents to say, look, let's just leave the PS4, PS5 now and Xbox on and let them have unlimited electronic time because that's what they'll want to do. It's not going to help. They will be crying out for some sort of structure, routine, and consistency over the next 6 weeks. And we are the people that have to give it to them.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I suppose the reason I've been doing this is because one of the things that we're obviously doing at the club is we've switched to virtual classes, and I'm doing a webinar in like a short amount of time, and talking to the ABC radio about it as well today, about getting the kids online and how to set it up and what sort of technology and everything like that. And I like tipping onto what you said there, that routine is really, really important. Do you think it would be useful for the parents to perhaps even put together like a Monday to Friday type planner and like you would, but not try to fill the day up like 1920s style education where that, you must do this, you must do that, but more, I don't know, is it like a band and say, okay, look, between 9 and 12, I want you to do an hour of housework, an hour of this, an hour of that. You figure it out, the mix, change it back and forth to give them that flexibility. Like how structured should we be for the kids right now?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tom. It's flexible, but some area of structure. So I think you've got to sit down with each of the kids, go through what it is they need to do. We've got a 9-year-old and a 17-year-old. The 17-year-old is going through his final year of study. Even today, he's in a lab over at school, and he's doing some testing as part of his final year 12 assessment task for the IB. And the 9-year-old, we decided to keep home today because he needed a little bit of a break. So you've got a huge range of responsibilities, of social connections, of extracurricular activities, of where they are in their study. So be a little bit flexible, but also, look, don't be prepared to talk to them about we're all in this together. So it's appropriate right now, because if mum or dad or whoever's responsible for taking care of the kids, if you're at home, you can't automatically be responsible for cooking and cleaning and organising and entertainment and ostensibly maintaining full-time job commitment from your home office or maybe from the living room. So it's important that you include things like chores, like housework, like taking care of the pets, taking care of yourself, being responsible for tidying your own room, your schoolwork, some form of exercise, so that there's a nice balance there. And of course, fun. Yeah. And I'm encouraging kids to make sure that they're maintaining social connections. So healthy social connections, doing Instagram posts, getting on TikTok, doing little YouTubes, going on Insta, doing all those little things that we know they can create little groups. Even if they're in sport, is to encourage them to create little groups or pages or little networks and share what they're doing. Stay in touch, keep communicating, and have healthy connections with people around. All those things are important. The things that are not going to work are going to be stressing them out by letting them run CNN, MSNBC, or the news broadcasts all day and constantly talk about it.
No.
You've got to be honest and direct and talk about what's going on, but do so in appropriate terms, appropriate levels for their age and stage. But don't let it overwhelm the household. This is a great opportunity, if you like, in many ways. I don't know how many times I've been on the road And mums and dads have said, oh, I wish I had more time with my kids. I wish I had more time to spend with my teenagers particularly. Well, now you've got what you wanted. You've got
Yeah.
that time available. Don't waste it. Make this an opportunity to grow and get to know them and understand them and what they're going through and be available to them. But again, always within a structured routine environment.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was reading a thing the other day that said that don't worry about trying to teach your kids math. Just teach them how to cook. There's plenty of math in cooking, and and lots of things like that. Okay, so look, that's really cool. And so I think, because for me, look, I've got 11, 10, and a 4-year-old, and the eldest two are home at the moment, and the school is sort of, they've given them some tasks to do that they can do in their own time, and the 4-year-old's still in care at the moment, and that's really been really great for him to get that attention. When we're looking at, obviously, you know, if things get worse and we get lockdown and things like that, do you think it's fair to say to people to don't be too stressed about making the days too regimented, like math at 9 o'clock and English at 10 o'clock and all that sort of stuff, because school days aren't even like that. They're not like, there might be 40 minutes of something, but they don't do 40 minutes of learning in a class. So you would encourage us to inject a little bit more fun into what's going on, because this is not a normal thing. This is not normal that you're going to be learning from home for a while. How do you think that some of the parents, look, okay, I'll circle it round. So one of the things I've been saying to my students is when they ask me through the camera, how long is this going to last? Is I say to them, let's not worry about how long it's going to last. Let's not worry about what we don't have. Let's be grateful for what we do, that we have food and running water and electricity, and we have the internet, we have access to each other, and being grateful for each other. How do we insert that sort of sentiment into the parents, to say to the parents, you know, let's be grateful for the time that we've got with our kids. If you're getting stressed out teaching your kids, maybe you're working too hard, you're trying too hard, that they're probably going to feed off that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that again's a good topic to think about. Look, the reality is, right now life is changed for everybody. Some people are suffering terribly with illness and suffering with the disease. A lot of people have lost money. Their routines have changed with work. A lot of people had to cancel sporting events. There's so much that's different, and it's not a matter of trying to make now like it has been. This is a new type of normal. And to be aware that everyone responds to stress differently, that some kids will go, man, I don't care if I get sick, I don't care what happens to me. Others will lose sleep and just be stressed out of their mind. There'll be a big range in the middle. Some of them will become really talkative and clingy and want more and more of your time as a parent. Some will want to distance themselves. Some will want to bury themselves in reading or technology and just be isolated and put themselves in another space. Everyone's going to respond to this differently, and to be aware of that. So again, a great opportunity to get to know your kids and have a time where you're just speaking with them, spending time with them. Don't force it. What I've found, and this is a conversation I often have with sporting parents, is we talk a lot about parents and the drive home from sport. So they go to football, or maybe in your case, it's a Hapkido grading. And on the way home in the car, they're saying, oh, I thought your kick was good and your punch could have been. How did that feel? Some kids want that. Some kids don't. And you've got to allow kids to respond in a way that they're comfortable with, to communicate in a way that they want to communicate. So whilst it's tempting to sit down every night at dinner and have a 1-hour lecture about the structure of the coronavirus molecule, some kids don't want that. Some kids don't want that education. Some kids want a quiet moment, or they want to go for a walk, or maybe have a Milo and sit out the back, or they'll talk to you when you're playing with the dog or something like that. So this is a moment to connect, to listen, to understand, and communicate with them in ways that they want to be communicated with. So, you know, that caring, that flexibility. It's a great line we use in coaching, which is, kids don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Yeah.
They don't care if you've got every piece of information, knowledge about developing routines and systems and the virus and all those things. Right now they go, am I loved? Am I valued? Am I accepted? Am I cared for? Am I being listened to? Are my needs being respected? Once I know that those things are in place, I say to parents, You've got to have it so that when your kids go to bed at night, they're lying there and with absolute unconditional certainty, they know they're loved, valued, and accepted for no reason other than they are your child, not for what they do, for what they've achieved, not for their school grades, not for their Hapkido grading, not for their football goal scoring, that they're lying in bed going, I know I'm loved, I'm valued, and I'm accepted for who I am as a human being. That's our first and most important priority. After that, the structural stuff and the systems can all come into place. So kids will respond to things differently. They respond to stress differently. Give them the opportunity to show you how they're going to respond rather than imposing your version of what their response should be.
That's awesome. That's really, really good advice, Wayne. And I'm going to take that on board in terms of our own classes, in terms of, because we've been thinking, like how there's some things you can't deliver via video, but what we can deliver is we can make sure that the kids know that we're there, that we're engaged with them, that we're giving them stuff to do, and that we're keen and we're giving them feedback and we're interacting, and that we're here as well, so that some of those anchor points along in their lives are still there. Yeah, look, I'm gonna wrap it up, the recording now, and say thank you so much for your time today, Wayne. I'm gonna send this out to all of my parents, obviously, and I'll send it to everybody, all of our members down here in Canberra. And I really, really appreciate your time, and thank you so much, Wayne. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, mate. Stay well, stay safe.